Welcome back to the N.A.R. Comic News Network, where we give you the latest on everything you're probably trying to avoid. Tonight, we dive into a developing story in the world of contemporary worship music, where a wave of biblically literate Christians has unleashed an unforeseen crisis for charismatic music ministers. Yes, it appears that people are starting to actually read their Bibles. This unprecedented outbreak of biblical literacy is wreaking havoc on the worship scene, sending many worship leaders scrambling to keep up, or better yet, to cover up. The crisis reached a tipping point last week when a select group of worship leaders from across the country gathered in Redding, California, for an emergency summit. Sources say the event was kept strictly confidential, which of course meant that half of Instagram knew about it before it even began. There was no shortage of urgency among the attendees, many of whom whispered in hushed tones that they had never seen so many verses quoted in Facebook comments under their worship videos. The meeting began with worship leaders huddled around a stage lit by a dozen fog machines. A spokesman, who will remain unnamed for legal reasons but was last spotted on tour in gold laminated sneakers, stood up to address the crowd. "Look," he said, strumming his guitar absent-mindedly, "I get it. They've read the Bible. That's cool. But this is about feeling the Spirit." A murmur rippled through the crowd as several guitarists nodded in agreement. After a few hours of deliberation, an ingenious solution was finally proposed: more repetition. Look, one worship leader was overheard saying, "If we repeat the phrases in our songs 10 times or more, no one's really going to have time to think about what we're actually saying. I mean, we've already been doing it with questionable lines for years." And thus a plan was hatched: more repetitions, more volume, less theology. Simple yet effective. They dubbed this approach the 7-11 strategy, where each line would be sung 7 times and then repeated 11 more for good measure. They're hoping that somewhere around the 30-second repetition, critical thinking will simply dissipate and everyone will slip back into the right vibes. But it didn't stop there. According to sources, the leaders also considered experimenting with new lyrics that are broad enough to avoid controversy altogether. Rumored new hits include "I Feel Okay About This" and "Vibes of the Highest." One ambitious songwriter even proposed a groundbreaking new hymn titled "Just Keep Singing," which consists of no fewer than 56 repetitions of the line, "Oh, I'm still singing." Insiders say it's expected to be 6 minutes of unparalleled unity. Some leaders remain nervous, however, that if people continue to study, even the 7-11 plan could lose steam. But they quickly found an answer for this as well. If people start questioning the message in the middle of a song, they'll just add another bridge to keep the flow going. "It's foolproof," one worship leader was overheard saying. At that point, people just think it's about their personal breakthrough. And so, the worship leaders returned home with fresh vigor and a renewed commitment to repackaging repetition as revelation. Only time will tell if this new strategy will succeed or if the people in the pews will continue to throw curveballs by, actually reading the Bible. But one thing's for certain: we at the N.A.R. Comic News Network will be here to report every line, every verse, and every repetition.